All right, ladies, how was your roundtable discussion?
Awesome.
Good, successful.
They're amazing.
Really nice.
It went by really fast. The time did.
Did it? So should I
Yeah.
add some more time, you think?
Well,
Five or 10 more minutes?
We
it
got
was,
three questions.
What about you all? What's your vote? You know I'm asking these type of questions every event. You know that, right?
I enjoyed it. I think it might have been the right amount of time because, of course, we want to get to the speakers, but
Exactly.
I could see the breakouts being a whole session. I could see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So we do these roundtable discussions. So we are also streaming live. We are also streaming live on these roundtable discussions. Oh, geez. So we are also streaming live. Do you all hear that?
you have an echo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
you might
pause
have
that.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'm streaming live on Facebook, but I just need to mute it, I guess. Anyways, all right. So does anyone have any takeaways, anything that you learned during your roundtable discussion that you feel could be beneficial for the rest of the group?
I will share. I spent most of my time with Jaleesa, and we had someone join us at the very end, just the last minute. But one thing from both of them that can take away from the conversation is the importance of your faith and how that your faith walk is related to your self-care and the things you do in that walk, the prayer, studying the word, how you start your day, how you end your day, that those are forms of self-care. Both of the women that I met are definitely strong women of faith. And I think that, people probably don't think of that, the things that we do in terms of our faith life, our faith walk as being part of our self-care.
That's a really, really good point. That's a really good point. And sometimes we fall from even that self-care, honestly. So it's important to incorporate that. If you are a believer, it's very important to remember that and to incorporate that into your self-care routine because it's very, very important. Yeah. Thank you, Tia. Anyone else would like to share?
I'll share. This is Cara.
Hi, Cara.
Hey, I talked with Miss Sykes and Miss Fuller. I have an adult child. One of them has an adult child. One of them has some littles. And the one thing we talked about was travel anyway. Just travel with or without the kids. Just go travel. And then we also talked about just pivoting in business if you need to. Who's done it? Who hasn't? Who needs to? And then the very last thing we kind of talked about was whatever the idea, the plan, the goal, the dreams, just get it out your head and put it on some paper so that we can see it and remember how close we are instead of trying to just stop holding it all up here. That's all.
Whew. You spoke to me with both of those points. I'll get to the pivoting in a little bit. All right, so we're going to keep it moving. Oh, we're only 7 minutes behind. That's what I'm talking about. We're not even behind, okay? Some of these, additional elements I added because I thought they would be beneficial. So once again, my name is Latoya Chanel. To the people who joined us after I made the initial welcome, I just want to welcome you to tonight, and we are very, very excited to have you here. And we have such an amazing lineup of speakers that are ready to share these self-care strategies with you. So I'm the CEO of Chanel & Co., which is an event management and marketing agency. We specialize in corporate events and conferences, marketing and creative, as well as corporate gifting. It's all about creating an immersive experience for you. So I wanted to share my self-care story. Hopefully some of you all have been reading some of these emails I've sent and know that, I took a break this summer, but I do typically take a break in the summer anyways. But this one was a little bit different. I will admit, some of you all may know that I felt burnt out with Lady Boss Roundtable. I felt that I was doing too much that wasn't 100% on brand. 100% true to my brand. And I really had to take the time to analyze exactly what I was doing and what my goals were and all that. Basically, as Cara said, I had to pivot, which I have done before previously. And I felt like anytime that I pivot, it's always successful. I'll be honest with you. But I'm always fighting myself for that. I'm like, no, let me just stay in this little comfort zone over here. And, I'm on the right path, whatever. No. There are many times that I have to take a look back and assess, am I really doing what needs to be done for my brand and for myself, to be honest. So I was also dealing with health issues and also postpartum. I had a child last year, and various health issues arose from that. And I just felt that I had too much on my plate and not really taking care of myself. So I randomly had a conversation with my husband, and he was like, no, I don't think you should have this summit. And that wasn't even the question I was asking him. So I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, be quiet, whatever. I got this summit. We're going to make it happen, whatever. But then it kind of like really stuck with me. And I'm like, maybe he's right. And I'll be honest with you, like, it's been something I've been like kind of struggling with anyways, or I felt that I was hearing from God, like, do a different direction with Lady Boss Roundtable, and you really need to assess doing this summit. I just don't know if it's really what you need to be doing right now. I'm like, okay, whatever. I got this. We're good. Let me keep on. I asked my therapist. I asked my business coach. Problem is with the therapist, she doesn't have event planning experience. Problem is with the business coach, she isn't a mom, and she couldn't relate to the postpartum issues I was having, or am still in a way having. So both of them are like, yeah, go for it. You got this. You're halfway there. You already got everything planned out, is what my business coach said. And my therapist was like, maybe this can get you out of your postpartum depression. Like, maybe this could be the thing that, like, something you can look forward to or whatever. So that's why I kept deciding I wanted to keep moving. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I got both of these important people that are telling me to go for it. I got this. No. After having a conversation with my husband, Brandon, I was like, no, you're right. You're right. I should not have this summit. Like, as he said, is this going to do more harm to you than I really feel it's going to do more harm to you than good, like, honestly. And so I took that time to really think about that and to really say, like, am I really going to be able to show up for these lady bosses the way that I want to? To me, no. Because I still have things I had to deal with. I want to, anytime that I'm in such a big platform like that, I want to show up as my best self, because if I show up as my best self, that's going to help you all with the goals that I have for you all and the overall brands. So I finally came to terms. In order for me to grow, I had to listen to what God was saying, and he was speaking through my husband. So I decided to listen. I feel that it was like the best decision for me. And again, for our network, our group, I feel that I'm more focused. I'm more clear. Everything's more clear. And I'm excited for the personal growth, the professional growth, and the business growth for all of us, because of this very necessary decision, self-care decision that I decided to make. And was brave enough to make, because it was very, very challenging. Like, Lady Boss Roundtable has been going strong for 6 years. To sit here and walk away from it was very, very scary, but I did what I felt was needed to do. The new name is La Chanel, excuse me, Boss Roundtable. And I don't care if you call it El Chanel. This has been an ongoing thing. Like, it comes from my modeling name back in the day, and then turned Latoya Chanel, then turned into, my event agency. And, as long as you're calling me is what I say. I don't really care what you call it, as long as you're calling me. So our focus is on purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and we're focused on brand marketing, business strategy, and self-care. I realized these were the common needs of our core audience. The target audience is still women, small business owners and entrepreneurs, but we are also open to men. This name and this direction sticks with the branding, and I could directly tie my services to it, because I'll be real with you. I was not marketing anything with my business. It was just focused on how to help, and that's fine. Like, I'm all about helping you all, but I'm like, kind of got to market my services a little bit. So that is the story of how we have now turn to the Chanel Boss Roundtable. And don't fret, we will definitely pick up the summit. It is scheduled for May 17th at NIU Conference Center in Naperville. I'm going to, in the chat, add our upcoming events. Please save the dates. The next LBRT still. The next LBRT is focused on mastering the art of delegation, how to reclaim your time. That's in October. That's going to be a phenomenal panel discussion. Our next Boss Connection Hour is going to be October 15th. During that connection hour, it's basically like kind of like speed networking. It's all about networking, and you meet people from all over. Kind of like the breakouts that we just had, but it is more, or it is one-on-one. And I also listed the Roundtable Summit. So you can register for the first two events by going to lechanel.co/events. I'm also working on these are announcements, by the way. I'm also working on an in-person networking dinner for us in November. And please spread the word about LBRT. As I stated earlier, it's open to men as well. If you haven't already, please rename your Zoom profile to your first name and your Instagram handle. Because why not pick up some new followers and make some new connections that way? All right, I'm going to deviate from the schedule just a tad bit by asking you to complete some polls. Let me know if this comes up. Do you see these 5 questions? Awesome.
Yes.
So this will also help the speakers see where you all are in terms of your self-care. First question, how often do you intentionally set aside time for self-care? Which area of self-care do you struggle with the most? What's your biggest barrier to consistent self-care? What self-care practices do you find most helpful in managing stress? I'm very curious about that one. And do you feel that self-care has a direct impact on your business success? You all can see the results too, right? No, you can't? All right, I'll let you know what the outcome is. So far, so I have half the group. Okay. All right. So far, how often do you intentionally set aside time for self-care? Wow. Daily? Man, teach me your secrets. Please teach me your secrets. Because daily, y'all rock stars with that. I wish I could say that. What area of self-care do you struggle with the most? Physical is number 1, and then social is number 2. What is your biggest barrier to consistent self-care? Lack of time is number 1. Facts. All facts. And the 2, feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself and not sure what activities work best for you are number 2. Number 4, what self-care practices do you find most helpful? The number 1 is physical activity. That makes sense. And then journaling. Oh, I need to do that. Really do. And of course, we all can agree that self-care has a direct impact on your business success. So thank you for taking the poll. Now I can share results to see. Can you see it now? Okay. So you have to end the poll to see the results. All right. All right. Well, without further ado, we are now going to go to our exciting speaker presentations for Nourish to Flourish, Self-Care Essentials for Entrepreneurs. We are first going to start with Ms. Kenisha Brown Alexander, CEO of Brighter Tomorrow Foundation, and she is representing Miami, Florida. Her presentation is When from within mental wellness practices for women. All right. You do not have any presentation slides, right? All right, cool.
No.
All right, I'm gonna spotlight, and you all please keep yourself on mute. And Kenisha, feel free to start whenever you would like.
I will. Well, Latoya,
I'm sorry, Kenisha. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I did not make this clear. Please hold your questions for the end when the presentations are done, but feel free to jot down those questions throughout. Just don't share them. All right, sorry, you have the floor.
Are we good? Okay, no worries. Well, good evening, ladies. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. This obviously is a testament to the fact that you want to make sure taking care of yourself in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So I want to honor you and salute you for being here this evening. Again, as Latoya mentioned, I am Kenisha Nichelle, the CEO and founder of Brighter Tomorrow Foundation. This is a nonprofit organization that specializes in supporting those who are facing grief and loss. I am a certified life coach in this space, and you'll hear a little bit more about my story. But I definitely just want to give this plug to you all that, you all are business owners, but you still have life to deal with, right? And so October is coming. And if you're like me and you have lost a mother to breast cancer, I want to invite you or any daughters that you know that have lost a mother to breast cancer to a candid conversation that I'm hosting on Sunday, October the 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just an opportunity for us who have walked this journey to connect with others who, I like to say, get it, right? You lost a mom, and sometimes it feels like you're walking this journey alone and you're talking to other people and they may just not get it. So this is a safe space for that. And so if this is something that you are interested in, or you know someone who is in this space, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I'll be rolling out the registration this weekend. And so would definitely love to invite you to be a part of that. So let's get started with tonight's talk. I actually kind of pivoted the title just a little bit. So we are discussing Win from Within. However, this is self-care and success tools for the purpose-driven entrepreneur. So let's get started. I want to ask you all, if you have a favorite sports team, put that in the chat. I would love to see. If you love sports, watch sports, care anything about it, do you have a favorite sports team? If you do, drop that in the chat. I would love to see if you do. If you ask me, I am from Kentucky, so I am a Kentucky Wildcat. NFL teams, I love the Dallas Cowboys, love them boys. NBA, I kind of rock with the Boston Celtics or the Golden State Warriors. So that's who I'm leaning on. So in the chat, I see the Eagles. So we've got some Philly fans here. Chicago, of course, the Bears. All right. I love it. So I'm asking you this because I'm willing to guess, right? You associate yourself with this team because maybe they're a hometown favorite. I know a lot of you all are from the Chicago area, so you may feel an attachment to them because they're the hometown team. Or maybe you have an affiliation with the team because they're a winning team. There's a favorite player that you like and you follow. I believe that we genuinely follow our favorite teams because we like to win, right? We want to be on the winning side. And we usually don't choose a team that's losing because, who wants to be associated with the loser per se, right? But again, if that's your hometown team and you're riding with them, you're ride or die, you're sticking beside them, then perhaps you may. But I ask you this because this is how we should feel about ourselves. That just as much as you have a winning team and a favorite team that you have, you are born with everything that you need in order to win at this game called life. And so I asked you this question. Aside from what I do in this particular space, I actually am a sports executive. So for the last 16 years or so, I have worked in the sports industry. Right now, I do have my own consulting firm where I produce mega sporting events. I've done football games, national championships, Super Bowls, all of the things. And I love sports. It gives me a high, if you will. And this all became because I was a daddy's girl who played sports. And so growing up, we watched sports, we went to games, and I loved it. But I have to be transparent and let you know that the first time that I actually felt like a loser was when my father passed. And so I lost my father at the age of 12 to a brain aneurysm. And that loss really shook up my core. I didn't really know much about death at that age. And so I didn't know how to process my feelings around it, right? I just knew that my daddy was no longer here. I knew that how am I going to get through this? And so my worrying about the future and how things were going to go turned into physical ulcers in my body. I landed myself in the hospital even at 12, 13 because I did not know how to process these thoughts. It even eventually turned into self-harm because, again, there was so much pain inside of me that I just did not know how to get that out. And so I share that with you because mental health and wellness is so important. It is the hub from which we govern our lives, right? It is the place where we make our decisions. And if your mind isn't healthy and it's clear, then you're going to end up paying the cost for those bad decisions. Tonight, you guys are all business owners, right? And I'm sure to guess that you're also likely mothers and wives and sisters and more. You have all of these different responsibilities that weigh on your shoulders, but you have to remember that you cannot afford not to take care of your mental wellness. And so, even after my father died, my mental wellness, it didn't get any better. It, in fact, got worse. Fast forward to 2007, my mother, she lost her battle to breast cancer. So here I am at 21 years old, a junior in college, and I've now become an orphan. I did not have a mental wellness plan. And so when I was thrust back into life, literally 1 month after she died, and I was denied a request from my supervisor to go home and see my family because it was a long weekend, I was met with even more turmoil. At the time, I was a student athletic trainer, and my supervisor said, "No, I need you to stay here." That was the last day that I was a student trainer. I went home and I attempted suicide. I'm grateful to God that He spared me and that I'm still here to even tell this story today. But I understand how serious my mental wellness and my mental health became. It did turn into a 4-day stay in a mental hospital, but it also gave me time to process everything because I now know that, I was a lucky one. There's so many people who don't know how to process their thoughts and feelings, don't know healthy ways to get it out. And sometimes this ends up being their demise. So, not long after, I did realize that I had to take drastic measures in order to live life again. I knew that doing the things that I was doing and trying to manage it myself just was not enough. Sometimes it literally does take you getting sick and tired of being sick and tired for you to experience real change in your life. For me, this meant taking a serious account of my thoughts and my behaviors. Life literally is about what happens. Excuse me, life isn't about what happens to you, but how you handle and respond to those things. So even as business owners, life is still going to happen all around you. And so you have all of these business practices and contracts and deadlines that you have to meet, but you're still dealing with other things in your personal life. So how are you taking care of that so that you don't allow it to spill over into your business? I truly believe that with proper mental wellness, that this can be the key to living a calm and productive life so you can also experience success in your business. And so tonight, I do want to give you 3 tools that I believe will help you in becoming a successful, purpose-driven entrepreneur. First, I want you to release the "I have to figure it out" spirit. So by a show of hands, who's guilty of this? Like, I know we all like, okay, y'all, I got to figure it out. I got to figure it out. Like we say that just kind of reluctantly, right? And there are times for that, okay? There are moments when we have a big idea and we want to run with it and we want to see it come to pass. And so we have to figure it out. But I also believe that there are times when that "I figure it out" spirit actually is worrying that's manifesting business because you were called. You were giving a gift, you were given a talent. And so you just didn't wake up one day and said, "I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to try that." No, you realize that you've been given something that you want to give back to the world. And so you have to rest in that knowing that this is a calling. And when you rest in that, that's when you begin to flow in the spirit. And by flow, I don't mean that things are going to be easy. That doesn't mean that everything is going to work out every single step of the way. But flow just means that you will have a peace in the midst of it all. And so one of the ways that I had to tap into my flow was with social media. Y'all, social media can be the best and the worst of things. Obviously, we all use it because it's a medium for us to connect with our audience, for us to be able to get out our products and services. But let me tell you, I got to a place where I was listening to the gurus, and they're saying that you got to post 9 times a day, and you got to have this lighting, and you got to have all of this stuff. And I'm like, I got so overwhelmed. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. Like, I'm not doing it. But I understand that that's not going to work in my favor, right? I understand that I do have to get in front of the camera and I do have to be on social. So when I tapped into my flow, I said, listen, I'm going to do this my way. And there may be a marketing expert that says this is not the right way, but guess what? This is how I'm doing it because I choose to walk in the space of knowing that anything that is for me will not miss me. If God wants a post to go viral, that is what happened. And in fact, I've had 2 to happen. And I don't know how and I don't know why those were even chosen. But listen, I rolled with it. But I share that with you to say that there is a peace when you are moving in your flow and you're not in that, I got to figure it out, I got to do it. That gives you some relief and that gives you some peace of mind to say, hey, listen, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. Again, one day I'll grow up and I'll probably hire somebody to do all this. But in the meantime, this is how we're going to do it. And so, again, I truly believe that the I figured out spirit is essentially worrying. It puts you in control and you are not in control. We have to be partners with God. And I believe that our job is to have faith and to back that faith up with action. So, number 2, to becoming a successful purpose driven entrepreneur is to be willing to take calculated leaps of faith. Business plans are great and they're necessary, for us to have an outline and to know exactly how we want to move and how we want to put our business together. But you have to leave room for God and you have to be willing to move when he says move. So in 2007, when I went through that bout in the hospital, my drastic move was that I knew I needed to relocate from my college town back to my hometown and just to be around my support system. When I transferred schools, that meant I had to change my major, and my major meant I needed to have an internship. Very long story short, I ended up getting an opportunity here in Miami with the Orange Bowl, if you're familiar with college football and championships. This was an unpaid internship for 5 months. People thought I was crazy about trying to take this opportunity. I'd never been to Miami, but I said, I'm going to take this leap of faith because, for one, what else am I going to do, right? God has given me a second chance. And so I want to see where this can lead me. Fast forward again. Today, my then boss is now the one who is teaching me how to literally produce football games. So I am a Black woman who is doing and running football games out of NFL stadiums, all because 16 or so years ago, I said, I'm going to take this leap of faith and see what happens. And from there, I've established these relationships. I've gotten contracts to work with them. They know they can count on Kenisha. You do not know what your leap of faith has in store for you. So I want you to think tonight, and just when we wrap up tonight, just think about what are some areas where you could be doing something or you have been called to do something, but you're afraid of the what ifs. I want you to think about it because it may get hard and it may get scary, but trust and believe that you will reap everything you've sown as long as you do not give up in the middle. There are promises that say that you have a harvest coming to you as long as you continue to wait and you wait with great expectations. And number 3, on becoming a successful purpose-driven entrepreneur is what we've all talked about tonight, and that is establishing a mental wellness routine. More than just self-care and self-care is good, but I want you to focus on your mental wellness. I want you to take care of yourself by balancing work and rest because burnout is real. You've got to make sure you're taking times to adequately balance yourself between the two. Know your limits. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are something that is healthy for yourself. And that's essentially saying that I love me. That's not hate for you, but I love me just a little bit more. And get good with saying that I don't have capacity for something. I share with my coaching clients this kind of scenario, right? And follow me. Let's say you're the person who makes the best pound cake, right? And you get a call on a Saturday when you are in the bed watching your favorite TV show, got your bonnet on, and you are chilling, right? You get this call to make this pound cake. If you prematurely tell somebody yes, I want you to start to think about everything that follows that yes. So if you say yes to making the pound cake, now you got to put on clothes. You got to leave the house. You got to go to the grocery store. It's the weekend, so you're fighting amongst other people. You go to the store and get all of your ingredients, and then the one that you need for that cake to go boom, they're out of it. So now you have to leave that store, go to another store, and still get that ingredient. You've got to take a full account of all of the things that come with your yes. And if you don't actually feel yes in your spirit, then I would say take some time and think about it. And if you can't do it, you just have to lovingly tell them, I don't have capacity for that at this moment. The last thing I want to leave with you too is that you have to make sure that you're exercising your mental wellness with affirmations. When we speak out of our mouths, I believe we're speaking words and then we walk into them. So when we say negative things like I'm broke, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, you're walking into the words that you say. I want you to reframe your mind and to start believing those positive affirmations like I am blessed, I am amazing, I am empowered to fulfill my destiny. We want to speak life into ourselves. We want to speak life into our circumstances. And even if we don't see it and we don't feel it in the moment, start speaking those things. And that way you'll start to see the manifestation of it in your life. And so just to recap, those 3 successful, purpose-driven entrepreneur tips for you are to release that I have to figure it out spirit, be willing to take calculated leaps of faith, and then to establish a mental wellness routine. So as I close, I just want to leave this with you that you have everything within you to win this game called life. I want you to walk away tonight with the confidence in knowing that everything you need has already been placed inside of you. Only thing that God is asking you to do is to take his hand and to follow him every single step of the way. And as you do that, make sure you are fostering good mental wellness practices so you can handle everything that he has for you. I thank you all so much for your opportunity to be able to share. And again, please be sure to follow me on social as I continue to share these types of messages with you.
Wow, Kenisha. Beautiful, empowering, inspiring message. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Exactly what a lot of us need to hear. I really, really appreciate you
Thank
and
you.
sharing those jewels. The first tip again, I was trying to type fast. I got the first one, release. That I have to figure. Wait, release that I have to figure it out spirit.
There you go.
And what's the second one?
Taking calculated steps of faith, leaps of faith.
Leaps
And
of faith. And then the other one's like develop a wellness plan, right?
and yes, a wellness routine.
Routine. All right. Thank you so much. I'm sure they're going to have questions for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. We will move on to Miss Cassidy Deer, CEO of Phenomenal 31. Cassidy represent Huntsville, right? Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
That's where my husband, well, I'm sorry, he's from Monroeville, Alabama, and Miss Jessica Walker, I think is still on here. I think she lives in Huntsville, Alabama. Her presentation is on creating the life you want and redefining success.
Yes.
Cassidy, feel free to take it away.
Sure. Hello, ladies. Miss Kenisha set such a wonderful and lovely tone for just the conversation that we're going to have today. And Latoya, I thank you so much just for this opportunity, just for intentional moments, but even more so the ladies that have shown up for yourself, for your business, devoting your time, giving of your evening is such a win. And it kind of lets me know the mindset that you already have. But I'm kind of tasked with kind of slowing the pace down just a little bit. And I really want to have just such a loving conversation about our mindset. I want to talk about some limited beliefs that we may have. But to start off, I want you to just settle out today, right? We woke up early. Maybe we had to get kids to school. Maybe we had some meetings at work. Maybe we were rushing. Maybe traffic got on our nerves, right? Maybe we upgraded our drink at Starbucks and that was such a win. We've had full days. But this moment right now, this hour, this minute that's in front of you, I really want to kind of encourage you to center your mind and really think about what's happening. You are on a Zoom call. You are having a conversation about self-care, right? You are having a moment to think about better ways to love yourself, to preserve yourself, to empower yourself. You have your ears peeked out looking for tips and tools to make tomorrow better for life, for personal, for professional, whatever it may be. So I really want to encourage you to just kind of open up your heart even just a little bit more and recognize that we're talking about you. You're the center of attention in this moment. And I hope that I can share some kind of tips for you to grow and to evolve. So even as you think about yourself, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to think about a goal that you would love to achieve within the next 6 months to a year. But here's the little trick that I have to throw in there. I want it to be a goal that you've been ignoring for the past 6 months to a year, right? Because so oftentimes we can throw new goals out there, not even recognizing that we could love ourselves so well just by going back and accomplishing those things that we've already set for ourselves. So I really challenge you just to kind of think about, what do I want to be different as I approach the next 6 months, as I approach the next 9 months to a year, and really set that goal before you. Okay, write it down, jot it down. I trust that it's going to happen, especially as we dive deeper into a conversation about mindset. To start off, I love to share 5 truths. I feel like I have to share 5 truths really quickly. I'm going to run through these 5 truths just before I can even start my introduction. I want to make sure that when we have a conversation about mindset and limited beliefs, we all are in the same understanding. So the first truth that I want to kind of present to you today is that your decisions, more than your conditions, are going to determine the quality of your life. I'll say it one more time. Your decisions, more than your conditions, are going to determine the quality of your life. The choices that you make, while it's important, of your conditions are important, maybe your surroundings, where you come from, things you've had to endure, your story, your life, that those conditions matter. But it truly does boil down to the decisions more than your conditions to determine the quality of your life. That's the first truth we all have to believe. The second truth we have to believe is that your habits determine your destiny. Destiny is really big and it's extremely important. And when you think about, yeah, I love to hope about it, I love to dream about it, I love to wish about my destiny, but ultimately it is going to be those habits that I have created for myself that are determining my destiny. So that's the second truth I want us to know. The third truth is that every choice in life is connected to a consequence. So I'm setting up a talk here for us to really dive deeper into our mindsets and maybe some of those limited beliefs that we have. Every choice in life is connected to a consequence. Now, oftentimes, I don't know about y'all, I was a little rebel child. When I hear consequence, right, I automatically think negative, right? But it could be, there are positive consequences as well, right? I just want us to know the truth that if you make a choice, you're going to get a result. Whether it's a positive or a negative, there will be a consequence to the choice that you make. The fourth truth, and this one I really have to sit with a lot, even for myself. The fourth truth that I want us all to know is that our quality of life is directly tied to our mindset. the quality of life, your quality of life, my quality of life, our quality of life is directly tied to our mindset. So I don't even think I did an excellent job of introducing myself. I am currently a certified life coach with Phenomenal 31, but I actually come from a history of clinical work. So I'm a licensed social worker. I did many years as a psychotherapist. And so if you are in that kind of mental wellness world, then the term cognitive behavioral therapy is not a new term for you. And essentially, on a practical level, what cognitive behavioral therapy is doing is saying, hey, based on your behaviors, I can tell you what your cognitive functioning is. It lets us know that everything before it becomes a behavior starts in the mind. We have to first think it. We have a thought, it leads down into our emotions, and then it's from those emotions that lead into our behaviors. And so going back to that fourth truth, the quality of our life, the type of vacations we get to go on, the neighborhoods we get to live in, how much money we have, all of these things, the quality of our life, it can be correlated and directly dependent upon our mindsets. And so that's just kind of setting me up for a conversation for limited beliefs. And then the last truth that I want to share with you all, the fifth one, for those, and I think I've heard some very healthy conversation for those who have just a healthy relationship with God, is that your mindset can limit God. That's actually scripture, Psalm 78 and 41. It says, and they limited the Holy One of Israel. So really, we have to say that if I feel like I'm being called to be this amazing thought leader and to pivot in my business and to do great things, if my mindset is not yet there, I run the risk of limiting the hand of God. So the fifth truth is that your mindset can limit God. Now, a little bit about me. I am representing Huntsville, Alabama, the great state of Alabama. I'm actually currently in a small town called Opelika, Alabama, but I'm originally from Chicago, so I'm a little bit of a city girl. And my childhood was one of just underprivileged poverty at its finest, right? I grew up in a home where we had no heat. We had no air, we had no kitchen, we had no hot water. I grew up in a home where it was quite often that you would just easily say, I'm just going to bed so that I could hurry up and go to sleep and not worry about the fact that I was going to bed hungry. I grew up in a safe home with a loving mother. We just did not have the resources that a parent would want to give you. And I say all that to say, imagine a child who was developed in that for 18 years. Right? This is not something that was kind of the beginning of a childhood and then things evolved. For 18 years, I had to make ends meet. I had to be creative with my well-being. And I just want to kind of share a little bit of my story because I was developed in a way that naturally, as an adult, I was buried under limited beliefs. Maybe it was because of the childhood that I had, what I came from, the lack of access to things that I had. I started to believe that maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't smart enough. Maybe based on the way I talk, they wouldn't accept me, whatever the case may be. I want to challenge you right now. You've had great success. You've done wonderful things, but there could possibly be some limited beliefs that are preventing you from achieving those goals that you already set years ago, right? And so even when we think about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because many of you are being those amazing thought leaders, you're putting your ideas out into the world, maybe some of those kind of limited beliefs as an entrepreneur that you have is that I got to do everything myself. I just got to figure this out. I think Miss Kenisha even touched on it, right? With her first main point of that having to do it all mentality. Maybe another one is, you know what? My business isn't good enough to stand with other businesses. I'm not even going to really mention it that much when I go into rooms. It's just a little small business, just something I do on the side. Could that be limiting our growth? If we are truly holding this mindset, is it going to come out into our actions, into our habits, and then determine the quality of our life? Maybe another limited belief is that, you know what? If this don't work out, I'm just giving it up. I'm a failure. I quit. I'm done. I ain't doing this anymore. We had a conversation to begin with about pivoting and the power of pivoting. That's so important. But if you don't have that mindset, if you don't hold that belief, what are your behaviors coming out, right? And so I just challenge you to wrap up just a little bit of recognize that you could be holding some belief systems that are not rooted in truth. They're actually established in limitations. And if you automatically show up, to echo what we just heard, if you automatically show up with a negative narrative that limits you, then the outcome will be limitations. And so, amazing women on this call, those listening in on Facebook, I just want to encourage you to go ahead right now and really sit with some of the thoughts that you've been carrying for far too long. Maybe they came in childhood, maybe they were established from past failures, maybe they were established from things that you were exposed to, maybe you overheard some conversations or people labeled you in the past. But I want you to right now, if you're going to achieve those goals, which you are, if you are going to achieve those goals that have already been set before you, you are going to have to establish a belief system that is healthy, happy, and whole. So again, my name is Cassidy Deer with Phenomenal 31, and I just want to empower you all to think those new thoughts and let go of those limitations. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. Oh, some bars were dropped. So we added some of these bars, okay, some of these quotes in the chat room. I love the 5 truths. And look, a lot of what you're saying, I can definitely relate to. Like, you tell yourself one thing and it's not the truth. You are limiting yourself. You have to get out of your own way. So I totally understand and relate. That's an ongoing struggle, but I'm sure most of us are continuously trying to get over that. So thank you for those, Jules. Thank you for those tips. All right, let's move on to Dr. Ashley Claiborne, who is representing Champaign, Illinois. And Dr. Ashley is going to discuss, her presentation is Empowerment and Healing, Recognizing and Overcoming Mental Health Challenges for Entrepreneurs. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. Let me just say the chat so far has been amazing. And I just want to echo with everyone else and what we're talking about, especially with we all want to be like happy, healthy, and healing. So I am a licensed clinical psychologist, and I now have my own solo private practice. And so I'll be talking to you guys about anxiety, depression, and burnout, which we've all kind of like hinted at before. But I wanted to give you like the kind of clinical symptoms that you should be looking out for. And I think it's especially important for us as like female entrepreneurs because we're juggling a lot of hats. We're doing the home stuff, the family stuff, the work stuff, the political stuff. So we're just out in the world. And right now there's a lot going on. And so we have to make sure we're prioritizing our self-care as well as checking in with ourselves and making sure we're not like taking on too much and that we have a healthy balance. And so I wanted to talk about high functioning anxiety and high functioning depression, because I think when we hear the words anxiety and depression, sometimes like a visual pops into our head. Like, so when we think of anxiety, it's like a person who's constantly like in a panic or like locked in their house or like can't come outside, can't be in tight places, but it can actually be a person that's like super successful. And so to the outside world, it looks like a person that's like really detail oriented, really on top of things. It's that friend you can call at any time and they just drop what they're doing. And so they look like they have it all together and they have tons of success. But inside, they're kind of filled with like this constant feeling of like stress, really excessive worry, and maybe some perfectionistic tendencies because like everything needs to be done just the right way. And it's not something they necessarily like share with others, but it's just something you kind of like feel inside. And it's a persistent feeling of stress. And you have like a lot of self-doubt, and you sometimes feel like you're an imposter. And so I definitely think it comes into play for us as entrepreneurs because we're out there, we're doing it on our own. Sometimes we have a small team, but at the end of the day, it kind of like falls on you to kind of like get it right. And so we mentioned it before about that pressure of like, I need to get it all figured out, like right now. And so that can cause a lot of like heightened anxiety and a lot of stress. And so when it becomes an issue is when you notice yourself like having trouble sleeping, your appetite can change. So some people either start like eating more or eating less. You start noticing yourself kind of like canceling plans with others because you're getting so kind of like stressed and overwhelmed. Like if I add one more thing to my plate, it'll kind of like make things crumble. And so sometimes that anxiety can also be coupled with some high functioning depression, which means like on the outside, you could look like you're going to work, you're getting everything done, you're smiling and laughing. And so no one would even know what's going on the inside. On the inside, you could have a feeling of like emptiness, a lot of sadness, and you could notice yourself like throughout the day, you're doing all the work stuff, doing all the home stuff, but then when you get a moment to yourself, you kind of like sink into it and you can't do anything else. And so it makes it really hard to do self-care because you're just like out of energy, because it is exhausting putting on that like smiling face constantly because people are looking at you to be like the upbeat person that has it all together. You got the business and the house in order. And so they're looking to you for that inspiration. And so you don't really show it. But when you're by yourself, you definitely feel it. And so when it becomes an issue, you notice again, like with anxiety, like the sleep problems, the eating issues, a lot of health issues can come up. So you can notice like headaches, aches and pains throughout the body, just like this overall heaviness. And a lot of times we go to our doctor and we say like, oh, I notice I'm like tired all the time. I have headaches, and they'll give us like extra vitamins or whatnot. But we don't usually get diagnosed with things like anxiety and depression because we're kind of describing it in a different way and coming in for like a physical concern. But I think somebody mentioned like having like ulcers, like it definitely leads to like a physical issue, but there's an emotional undercurrent that's going on. And so in our community, if we don't really talk about it, you don't really know like how to identify it. And so both of these can lead to burnout. And so I know firsthand like what that feels like. Before opening up my private practice, I was in a really busy outpatient clinic. And so I had tons of patients coming in and out throughout the day. I was a training director with a lot of interns. And so it was like on the go constantly, all day, every day. And I thought I could do it for a long time. I did for about 10 years, but then I noticed like the physical symptoms where it's like I felt like I really could not get enough rest. And so it started affecting my personal life because like I would make plans to go to brunch. But by Sunday, I'm like, I'm not coming out of the house. I'm staying in my pajamas. And so after time, you're like, wait, that's not who I am. I've lost interest in like the stuff that I want to do. So it's like because of the work stuff, it burnt me out so much that I couldn't even enjoy like my outside life. And so that's what led me to being an entrepreneur. And so now I help other clients who are feeling the same thing. So they're still in corporate America, or they're actually also entrepreneurs, but they're still on that go, 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 go. And they don't give themselves the permission to take some time for themselves. And so that's why this talk is so important, because we have to put self-care as our priority, because no one else will. People are always going to be calling us. They're always going to be asking us to do something for them. And so we have to model it for ourselves and for others that we are priority, and we don't have to earn rest. We need it and we can take it. And so I really enjoy encouraging others, especially women, to make sure they're taking out time for themselves. And so I think to add to the tips that we've already added, I would say daily, we definitely need to take a hard pause, whatever that might look like. And so for me, I make sure every day I'm doing some physical activity and some mindfulness or meditation. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know how to do meditation or a little bit of mindfulness, but it could really just be like playing your favorite song and like dancing around your living room. Or like making sure when you take a shower, you light some candles, you don't have your phone around, and you just like, that's your quiet place. No one is allowed to interrupt you when you're in the bathroom, but just making sure each day, throughout the day, multiple times if you can, but definitely each day, making sure you take a hard pause on everything else in the outside world and just spend time with you. And another thing I would say is weekly, making sure you're squeezing in some time to check in with community, because I feel like we often keep things to ourselves and kind of check in with others when things are really bad or things are really good. But just making sure each week you take the time to check in. It could be with more than one person or just one person, and just saying like, okay, this is what's really going on. Because we usually do the hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good, everything's fine. And in reality, it's not. And so if we get in the practice of doing it on a regular basis, then when things do come up, it doesn't feel as heavy and as big because we're in the practice of like talking about things. And then I also wanted to talk about some of the barriers that come with us in seeking therapy. I think right now, social media is getting better at letting people know that we should all have a therapist to check in with. And so it can be preventative or it can be because like something's actually going on. But it doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means you are checking in with a professional to get some skills because we can all look on Instagram and look on TikTok for our affirmations, our self-care tips, but you actually have to talk through stuff and process it. And it's one thing to process it with a friend, with a family member, but you also need to check in with a professional and make sure things are really getting addressed before it gets out of control. And so I just want to check in with you guys and let you know that I do have a private practice. I'm completely virtual. So if anybody needs to check in with me, feel free. I definitely give free consultations and I can point you in the right direction. But overall, it's been a great evening and I look forward to learning more with you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley. Really appreciate these tips and for educating us on high functioning depression, which I do think that I may have, to be quite honest here. I actually just copied and pasted a little bit more of the definition that Dr. Ashley was discussing and some of the symptoms. So that is all in the chat. And as she said, you don't have to earn rest. You need it and can take it. I love the whole spend time with you. You have to do that. You have to have your me time, your alone time. You just have to have your you time. You have to have that. So thank you for those tips, Dr. Ashley. And at the end, you know, you all can share in the chat, our speakers, how people can reach you all as well, okay? All right, so let's move on to Miss Cara. Pressley, the career cheerleader representing Richmond, Virginia. Her presentation is Creating the Life You Want and Redefining Success. Welcome, Cara.
Hey y'all, how are y'all feeling? Thank you for welcoming me. I appreciate you. I've been so excited about this event, and I love when I can speak and learn at the same time. So shout out to all the ladies who went before me and to the ones who will go after, because I can't write fast enough. I'm like, well, look at me. Okay, I need all the notes. So thank you for the chat. I'll be copying that. So I'm Cara Pressley. I'm the career cheerleader. I encourage individuals to create the life that they want personally and professionally. I love taking just a holistic approach to just any changes or pivots in life, because if it's falling apart in one area, it's going to show up in the other. Unless you're fully accountable and aware, it's going to show up and manifest. So we just have to be aware so we can acknowledge it, so we can create the life that we want. Now, when it comes to creating the life that you want, when I talk about that topic, I just want to ensure that everyone understands the life that you want is not vacation every day. Okay, I can't manifest the six figures for you. That's not what I mean. It's actually on a very much smaller level, and a sample of that is my life. So let's just go through that really quickly. How did I get to this public speaker, educator, social media guru space, which is what I currently do? I started as a comedian. Yep, I was Big Bone Barbie, okay, back in 2008-ish, okay? We were on stage, and then sometimes you have to quickly realize, I am not Kevin Hart, okay? This is not going to work out for me. So I went from comedian to candle maker, because in the name of self-care, I'm going to help people find their zen, and I was giving Bath and Body Works way too much money. So I did that successfully. And then I realized I just can't make 300 candles. That is just not going to work for me. Okay. And then I had way too many scents going on in the house. If you got allergies, you feel me. So I went from candle maker to journal designer, and got some great accolades, worked with Andy Smith and got to go travel and do all these things. But again, I don't know if you've ever worked with inventory. I don't like carrying 200 journals. Okay. And that was my last order that I fulfilled when I realized this ain't it. Okay. So then I threw myself back into my job. I worked at the IRS for over 20 years, and I was the best overachiever there. And then I really realized I hated here. Okay, I don't know if you've ever woken up and realized that, and you look up that retirement date and you realize how far away you are. That's when I was like, this ain't it. So that's when the career cheerleader came, because I didn't need a coach. I had the job. I needed someone to motivate me and encourage me to show up as my authentic self, because I had a mask on too long in the workplace, and help me keep going back to work, because I was only about 15 years in at that point, and that retirement date was far away. But after all of these pivots and changes in my personal life, I just really got very fluid and very authentic about who I was, what I needed, and not to even deep dive into what I was originally going to say, because we already have talked about it a lot with some of our previous speakers, but I really had to first sit still and say, what do I like? I know that sounds so simple, but I realized for the first time that I had just been moving too fast and I didn't know what I liked. I knew what I could do. And I was just doing and doing and doing and kept doing, to where I realized I don't even like this stuff. I don't even like this job. I don't like this place that I'm in. I don't like the way people are making me feel. And I just had to get really clear on how I felt, what was my capacity, what did I like on my journey, what did I want from my journey. And one of the things I had to also sit still and say was, what do I want my ideal day to look like? Something that simple. Okay. Now, when I first started writing about my ideal day, uh, I included the travel. Okay. I was like, we traveling twice a month, we doing all these things. If I didn't have this job, I would do this in my 24 hours. And the first thing you realize is that's not actually realistic, some of the things I had listed. And then after I really got very clear financially about what things would look like, and how I wanted my life to live and look, I really realized where I could eliminate some things, where I could add some things, and just say yes or no to some things. And the easiest example I'll give, I gave it earlier in the breakout, was when it comes to events now, I'm just showing up for the event. I am not on the setup ministry. I'm not on the cleanup ministry, but that used to be me. I used to be all of the things. How can I help? How can I do? And I realized that supporting and or going and or bringing your gift or just attending is enough. You don't have to earn any extra points for doing these things for these people. So when it comes to creating the life you want, I'm really talking about the smaller micro moments of where you can just say no. I don't know, after the week I've had, if I'm coming to your shower on a Wednesday, baby shower, business shower, should I be searching for a bag of ice on the way? I don't know if that's my ministry. It's not, and it's a no for me. And because if you're like me, if you've been showing up for people, they're not gonna like it when you say no. All of a sudden, oh no, that's someone else I can't depend on. And I am sorry for you. But if I can't show up as my best self, or if I know stopping for that bag of ice is going to fluster me in a way that maybe you don't understand, I have to just take that perspective. I have to just be okay with what you may think, right? Deliver yourself from other people's opinions. I worried about what people thought about me for way too long. And when you just remove that and understand that I'm okay with my decisions and what I can and can't do, you just free yourself in a way that I didn't think was possible. You know what I mean? I was bound to these overthinking assumptions in my head. And I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to be. You do not have to be. To what the previous sis said, rest. I had this in my thing. Rest is not laziness. Rest is an action. And it's essential to your work and your life and what you need to really get you to where you want to be. So truly creating the life I want started with 5-minute meditations, because I really couldn't rest like I wanted to, which was like a 24-hour sabbatical. If you've ever been burnt out, you know what I'm talking about. But just to stop for 5 minutes and just meditate on the life you want, or what you enjoyed about what you did well in today's presentation, or just the delicious meal that you fixed. Even I don't care if you burnt 2 fish sticks, if the salmon came out right, enjoy what you did well. And just focusing on that really helps you to not micromanage yourself. after I realized, after my managers and my employees, well, my coworkers bullied me and gave me all kinds of microaggressions, I realized I had the nerve to come home and microaggression myself. I mean, why am I giving myself all this extra feedback of what I also didn't do well? Unnecessary. So please don't do that. So when it comes to changing or creating the life you want, here are 3 things to help you bring change. Daily, prioritize what matters today. Ask yourself what you can do today that brings you closer to your goals. And if you can't do it today, something that you wanted to do it tomorrow. Number 2, understanding what you can and can't control. Get the serenity prayer in your life. Okay. Just there are some things you can control and some things you just can't. And at the end of the day, the third thing when it comes to bringing change is to shift your focus. Shift your focus from traditional outcomes and traditional circumstances and even your overthinking. Just shift that to, again, reminding yourself that people are going to people. Okay. They're going to let you down. They're going to lift you up. That just expect it, prepare for it, and then just allow yourself the clarity to focus on only what's in front of you. I found myself, again, when the sis spoke about the high functioning, I found myself so high functioning. I planned for every scenario to where when I actually got the answer, scenario, whatever was going on in front of me, I was prepared to react to something else that was in my head. So I'm reacting like that. And the person actually already said yes or no, or I'm fine, or whatever the situation was. But let's just focus on what's in front of us. So those micro moments are how you can create the life you want because they bring you peace more than any vacation. And when you have more peace in your life on a daily basis, you can plan a better vacation. Just to let you know that. The last thing I wanted to talk about in my presentation was really just redefining your success. This topic or this portion of the topic came from in the middle of all those shifts of comedian, candle maker. I was also raising a son. Shout out to him. He is 22 now. The teens almost took me out. I'm going to tell y'all that. I was so severely suicidal in between like 14 to 16 because of his own personal changes. I don't know if anyone on here has teens, but watching them learn in real time is a different task. And going through that, I just put it on myself as far as what a mother should be, should do, should act like. And I just wasn't those things because the behavior was coming out another way. And I had to just really remind myself that you are here to support his journey. And when you support his journey is going to look like what it is for him. And your support does not have to be in any other perfect way or perfectionist idea other than to just be there. And I also was tired of lying to people when they were asking me, how are you doing? So when they said, how are you? And I just kept saying, okay, I was like, I got to redefine that because I'm not okay. And I'm lying to you. So what can I say to make me feel successful? It's something I've been saying for a long time. So I tell people I'm feeling successful because I have the power every day to define what that success is. Success some days looks like Netflix all day. I need it. Okay. I got to watch Ghost. I got to watch Stars, whatever it is. I got to watch my shows. But that's some days. And then some days success is 3 events, a travel, emails. And some days it's all the things. Okay. Some days it's the traditional aspect, but it's not always that. And the first step I had to do to help redefine that success was right after I left my job. It's been 4 years now. I sat in the car crying quite a few hours. Okay, it took me a little bit, but I sat in the car and I was like, "You don't have, your manager's critique anymore. You don't have your evaluation. You don't have anything to just define your success other than you." So, what was the first time you thought about this is successful? Like when did that first come up in your mind? And the first thing that came to mind for me was school. An A is successful. And I realized I was trying to get A's in pockets of my life where there's no alphabet that can come up upon it. Okay. Even if you fail as a mother, quote unquote societal, whatever their stigmas are, whatever they believe success should look like, even if you're failing, you're still a mom and they're not going to take that position away from you. Some people may see it as that when it comes to like CPS and things like that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just how can you define what success is as a mother, as a child, as a sister, as a daughter, they're all different pockets, and you get to define that. Okay, you get to define that, and you don't have to get an A in that subject. So I just encourage you all to remove the old definition of what success is, certain milestones, achievements, financial goals, and just develop a new definition for yourself. Because even if you check off all of your boxes, and some of you may have already reached certain levels of success, you can still be at the top and feel unfulfilled. So you still have to find out what that success means to you, what it looks like to you. And it's going to vary day to day, because one thing I've learned in this life is the key to balance is not getting 100% in all the buckets. It is prioritizing what is necessary every day at that time and giving it 100% as necessary. So that's all I have for now. If I could give you 3 takeaways, balance isn't about perfection. It's about knowing your priorities for the day and prioritizing that for yourself. Focus on what you can control and remember that your success is personal. So, thank you.
Thank you, Cara. This was excuse me, very helpful. There are so many things that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to, and I love how you stated you define your success. And thank you for touching on parenting. That is a ongoing struggle, and there is a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves, undue pressure, like comparing yourself to how your mom or your mother-in-law or whomever raised you,
Right.
and hearing all that outside noise from them, like, okay, this is how y'all raised me, but this is how I'm gonna raise my children. And that's okay. This is fine. This is what works for my family. So
And this
that's
is what works today. I may pivot later, but today,
right.
we be on today.
Right. And a lot of us, like you said, we need to prioritize and just focus on today. I love that. I also love, there was something you said earlier about basically taking on all the things. How can I help? Like, you give yourself so much to other people. Like, how can I help with this, this? Even though it's going to inconvenience me or make me feel, it's something you said earlier, they won't even know that you picking up that bag of ice is going to like frazzle you a little bit, like that one little detour can mess you up.
I was already late, friend. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I get ice now.
Ice. Like, I want to help.
I say all the time, a lot of us are the Beyoncés of our family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you ain't got to put out that album. That's all I'm saying.
That's the bar. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna move forward with Delane Blazik. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this the right way.
You did a beautiful job.
No, the next thing. Solace. Is that correct? Solace?
It is.
Coaching and consulting, and she is representing Naperville. So thank you for joining us. Welcome. And she is talking about putting yourself first doesn't mean you are selfish. I'm sure many of us can relate to that.
Well, thank you for having me. And I can say, since I've been on this call, I have had a crazy event. So you may notice that I look different in a different vantage point now. My computer died from the intro breakout session until now. It just like lost its energy. It wouldn't plug back up. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this work. This is going to be happening. And I'm supposed to do like this presentation, but I don't think that's what's supposed to happen tonight. So I'm just going to speak to you like everybody else. And I think
Murphy's Law, I swear.
Exactly. Everything happens for the reason it's supposed to be. So the reason is I am not supposed to give you a presentation from my computer today. So thank you again for having me. And I also used to be in a clinical field. I was a psychotherapist for about a decade before I had small children. I have 3 boys. So I totally understand the demands of motherhood, as unrealistic as they are in our society. And I decided that I didn't want to work nights and weekends at the time. Telehealth wasn't as popular and people were not working remotely. So I was working a lot of nights and weekends, and that did not fit with our family's lifestyle. So I got introduced to sales, which I hated. I hate buying cars. I hate going into these types of scenarios. But when they passed me that little paper on the Post-it across the table that said this will be your base salary starting off, and it was double what I made as a psychotherapist, I was saying in my heart, no, but out of my mouth, yes, I'm happy to accept. So I did. And I continued to advance. And I remember sitting in Napa very, very specifically. I was a CCO of a Norwegian healthcare technology company. And I couldn't go any higher. There was nothing else I could do. I'm sitting there drinking my favorite wine glass, looking out this beautiful scenery, and I'm thinking, this is okay, but I don't love it. So I decided to do a whole life change and went into the job the next day, put in my resignation. Everybody was shocked, including my husband. And I'm like, hey, I want to do what really makes sense for me. And that is teaching female entrepreneurs how to master their sales process so that they can make more money without killing themselves. And I literally said, make more money without killing yourselves. So that's what I did. I wrote the book. I do a magazine now for female entrepreneurs, and I'm so delighted to be able to come here and talk with you tonight. I can hear all of the things in my mind that were on the presentation, what a lot of you had said: cognitive behavioral therapy, self-prioritization. But when I was thinking about this presentation, you know, we've always been taught that selfish is such a negative connotation. Oh, don't be selfish. Don't put yourself first. And I think the one thing that I wanted to impart is that sacrificing yourself does not make you more successful. It makes you less successful. It makes you exhausted. It makes you depressed, anxious, tired. It just makes you a miserable human being. Let's face it. No one wants to walk around unhappy. I know we've all heard that saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? Well, you most certainly cannot pour from an empty cup. And then when you go to get your coffee pot to refill the cup, if that's empty too, we got a bigger situation. So I think, you know, self-prioritization does not mean you're guilty. It means you're smart. And that was the one thing that I wanted people to understand tonight. Taking time for yourself is not lazy. I know I've heard a lot of people say that is so important. And the power of saying no. One of my primary missions is to help women find the power of their voice and be able to articulate that to an audience that may not want to receive it. And there's such a power in saying no. It doesn't have to be a no. It doesn't have to be a nasty, but it can definitely be a firm decision. And anyone that tries to challenge that boundary is disrespecting you. So anyone tells you you're selfish, no, you're disrespecting my boundary by not listening to me the first time when I said no. So that was another thing that really called out to me. And I know that one of the presenters, maybe a couple of the presentations, have talked about self-limiting beliefs. And I think that is so true. Someone told me a very long time ago that the whole process in changing self-limiting beliefs is to change your mindset in the fact that, can you conceive of something? Can you believe it's possible for someone else? Like, I may not believe that I can be a public speaker, but hey, you know what? I do believe that Big Bone Barbie's got this locked down. And if she can do it, then I can conceive that this is available in the world. And then once that happens, we can then convert that to believing that something is different from me, that I can be available to do something different. And once we start believing in that, that is when we receive. So conceive, believe, receive. I always like to think of things in that linear fashion, because everyone thinks, oh, well, when something happens, I'm just waiting for X, or I'll do it when Y happens. And we know those days are never coming, because, you know, why? We never believed it to begin with. I can think all day long, this is what I'm going to spend my millions on once I play that lottery and win. But if I never play, if I never think about playing, I'm never going to win. And I'm not a gambler, by the way, unless I know I'm going to win, which is totally not the lottery. But the point is, the thought comes before the action. Everybody thinks the action's going to come before the thought, but actually that's reversed. So I wanted to highlight that as well. And just thinking about when we know we're encountering a self-limiting belief, we may or may not know it is ours. It may also be superimposed on us from someone else. We may be borrowing and receiving a self-limiting belief from another person. It doesn't even have to be ours. So I always like to tell people, odds are these are self-limiting beliefs. When anyone says something to you that starts with, you can't, you're not, and you shouldn't. So if you hear that on the beginning of the sentence, just stop listening in that moment and think, this person is telling me either their self-limiting belief or what they think I should do. And I am going to stop sitting around wishing and waiting for something else to happen. And I am going to change this today. And then once you move forward, once you change, don't look backward. because there's going to be times when you're tested, and there's going to be times where you're thinking to yourself, maybe I made a mistake in making this change. This is something different. It's going to feel foreign. It's not going to feel natural. It's going to feel extremely uncomfortable. But I encourage you to not revert back to previous behaviors just because they were comfortable, because you left them for a reason. They weren't healthy for you. Doesn't matter if they're healthy for everybody else, because you know what they say, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. Well, I can tell you that's 100% true, because that was me. And my kids are now much older, 23, 21, and 19. So I remember those teen years. I remember those baby years, and it does get a little bit easier, but the challenges just change. So being able to walk beside them along that path instead of directing them down the path is an interesting transition of motherhood. And so often I find myself like, hold back, don't tell them what to do. Ask them if they want your opinion, right? Would you like my feedback? Would you like to learn more? And unfortunately, I guess in my situation is, no, mom, I got this, but thanks. I'm like, okay, good. So just also accepting when someone sets a boundary. And as a mother, it's always seemingly more triggering, at least for myself, because you know the right answer you want to give to your kid and help them get there as quickly as possible. But we all are on our own journey. And I think just being able to share our collective experiences tonight has been amazing. I love that we're all committed and dedicated to doing something better and more relaxed for our internal and external psyches. And I just wanted to say I'm really happy to get to know all of you.
Thank you so much. Self-prioritization is not being lazy. Conceive, believe, receive. I love the whole ignore self-limiting beliefs from others. I can't say who the person is because she may be listening, but that's, yeah, definitely relate to that. You know, a lot of times people feel that the need to tell you what you can and cannot do, when it's just something that they're holding themselves back from. If they open themselves up to opportunities and experiences and just positivity, then they would understand that what, you know, is for others, and to not be so negative or limiting to them. So I really, really like those tips. And yes, don't revert back to bad habits. You left them for a reason. So thank you so much for sharing those tips, Delane. And then also just the fact that you were able to present without your PowerPoint presentation last minute. Hand clap for that.
Thank
Applause
you.
for that. All right. We really have 4 minutes left, but whomever can stay on, feel free. We're now doing the Q&A. We have 2 pre-submitted questions for our speakers. The first one is, and whoever would like to take this, mental health is a major part of self-care. How would you deal with your mental health when your spouse is a downer? That's a great question.
So I had this situation. It's not a pretty situation, but I was married for 24 years before I decided that divorce was our only option. But many of those 24 years, I lived with a pessimist, a natural pessimist. And I don't want to say I am an eternal optimist, but I think I am a solid realist with a hint of optimism. So it wasn't a match, but the only way I could possibly get around it was setting hard boundaries, not allowing him to continue to talk to me after I had set the boundary, like physically removing myself from the situation. And I don't remember who said it, but it really resonated with me when they're like, when you're in the bathroom and you're taking that shower, that's your private time.
Yes.
Or I lock that door, I'm putting in those bath salts. I got so pruny because I'm like, I am going to have an interruption here from this negativity, because it was my only escape. So I really resonated with that.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I also want to say really quickly for the speakers, thank you so much for sharing your personal journeys, because you did not have to. So we appreciate that. And I want to say we are glad that you are still here. Does anyone else on the speaker panel like to address that question at all?
I will. I actually just put in the comments to something else, but it goes with several scenarios. Just observe, don't absorb. Even your own thoughts, right? Sometimes you just need to just see what the other person is saying. And if you were like me, I used to take everything to heart, take everything very personal. I actually used to believe everything people said. And like I said earlier, people gonna people.
Yeah.
They're gonna let you down. You think they're gonna be supportive, or you tell somebody great news and you even think that's gonna be a big fanfare, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Well, see, I shouldn't have had an expectation. I thought you cared about me." So sometimes you just gotta observe, don't absorb it, recognize that's with them, because how you react, that's really on you. So I know it's hard with the partner. With friends, you can kind of leave them a little bit easier, but I would say it's okay to respond if you need to, but I would definitely suggest some therapy to talk out whatever that is, so that there can be another informed discussion in the room, because they may just minimize your thoughts altogether if they're just a heartfelt pessimist. So
Yeah. On a friendship perspective, I did have a friend who was it was challenging to tell her anything that was positive because it was taken as like, okay, well, this is happening for you, but this doesn't happen for me, so I feel down. So anytime you have a friend who you're nervous to even tell them your good news, you should not be friends with them. Period, point blank. It's a very uncomfortable position to be in. Like, just as things are going well for me, I'm not wishing for your downfall. If anything, I'm trying to uplift you. I also will say that, as far as a spouse or really other people as well, sometimes like I have to realize this is kind of different from the question because my husband's supportive, but at the same time, like I am super into all the businesses that I have, right? I can't expect that same level, the level of support, or not support, of enthusiasm, rather, from him, because even though we're a team, it's like overall like my business. So I'm all the effort and work that I put in it, I'm definitely gonna be up here. And he might be like right here. And that's okay as long as he's still supportive. So it's a different take on it, but something to keep in mind. Another pre-submitted question: what unique ways do you personally incorporate self-care into your daily workflow? And what prevents you from practicing self-care?
I can answer that one more time. I'm gonna take a nap. So I have a nap built into my day. If I don't take a nap, because maybe I'm just want to be more productive, or maybe I want to listen to a podcast, I'm gonna still do something, but it's gonna be a rest moment. Um, it's something when all the 24 hours are yours again. And I was working from home well before COVID, and I knew I needed a nap. So it is now part of my day. Nap, meditation, something quiet. Plus, I know I'm working to the night, so it balances for me.
Those naps be hitting. Oh my gosh. Like you feel like a whole new person after like a 10-minute nap, 15-minute nap, a power nap. I'll be honest with you, when I worked in corporate, I probably shouldn't say this, but I would sneak off to the bathroom sometimes and just like take a quick nap or to my car. I'm just being honest with you. I would because it was important for me to get a nap. And then after that little quick nap, now that might have been a little 2, 3 to 5 minute nap. After that little power nap, oh, re-energize all the different ideas just really come to you. So please take a nap for your own sanity. How many of y'all take naps? It doesn't have to be every day, but okay, the rest of y'all are off camera, so I can't see you. But anyone else want to answer that question? Again, what unique ways do you personally incorporate self-care into your daily workflow, and what prevents you from practicing self-care?
Well, I was going to share from a workflow perspective. When we had our breakouts, I shared this, that I'm a to-do list kind of girl, right? I like to write everything else, do the check boxes. I like to see it. it, you see that your task list may be 20, 30 different things, and it can feel overwhelming. And so from that perspective, I suggest breaking those down into mini tasks. So if you know that there are 7 days in a week, I would suggest by saying, okay, let me add one thing from that major list per day. And if you feel like you can handle 2 or 3, feel free. But essentially, I would suggest putting one of those tasks per day. And if you can check that off, now you felt like you've accomplished something, right? You've moved the needle towards accomplishing your goal, but then that still allows you to have time for those self-care activities that you enjoy doing. And that keeps you from feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. So that's something that I incorporate. I do that pretty much every night. I'll say, okay, realistically, what do I think that my day can handle? All right, if I can make a flyer and I can update my website with the event link, and those are the 2 things I can do, I'm going to commit to that, check those off. Those are my small wins, but I'm still moving the needle forward. So I want to offer that as a suggestion.
Love that. Thank you. All right, so now we'll open up the floor to you all. Whatever questions you may have, feel free to ask verbally or in the chat for any of the speakers. No questions after all that? All those beautiful jewels? Maybe y'all feel like you have the like they laid everything out. I'm good to go with these strategies, okay? These tips. Nothing? Deja, Kiona, India, Carmen? Anyone? Fallon? I see you, Fallon.
It's not a question, but it's just as you all were talking, and Dr. Ashley said something that I was like, oh, I had I think I maybe still be the high functioning depression. The way you described it, I was like, oh, that was me during that time when I was feeling X, Y, and Z. It may still be feeling it, but not as bad as before. But it is very important to kind of, you mentioned to talk to somebody about that too. And I didn't do that step. And granted, I am a mental health counselor.
Counselors?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And during the breakout room, I talked about how for me, crocheting or just sometimes not saying anything just kind of helps me ground myself before going to bed type of thing. But it's just one of those things where you talked about consistency, and I think I lack in that, which is what my business is struggling with, is the consistency part for me with dealing with the high function depression.
Is that due to like needing to delegate?
No, I'm really good at delegating. I'm really good at delegating.
That's amazing.
I'm not sure if I figured out what it is yet.
Okay.
And I'm good with boundaries. That a lot of people can tell you I'm really I'm good with saying no. And the fact that I move from my comfort zone to comfortable zone, I'm an hour away. So a lot of times if someone's asking me to do something, I'm like, I'm not gonna drive an hour just for that. But if I could do it, I can do it. If I can't, I'll just say no. So I'm good with the boundaries. Not sure what is kind of limiting me. Like we talked about limited beliefs, right? I'm not quite sure if I figured that out yet.
I have something I can add. I do free consultations. Anybody on the call, actually, if you want that, you schedule a meeting with me. Sometimes you just need to just get it out on paper, or sometimes you just need to talk it out with someone else so they can describe it for you or describe what you're saying. It may just be a lack of clarity and just verbalizing it, because again, especially with social media, we're doing a lot of internal conversation, and you speak a lot slower than you think. So you may be missing steps. There may be some gray areas. So you may just need to line it all out, identify some real goals for yourself, achievable, realistic goals for yourself, versus I want to be successful. Sometimes it may just be too general. You just need some actionable steps and actionable items to get you to the next line, if not the finish line. So that's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fallon. I appreciate your comments there. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Going once, going twice. All right. All of our speakers, please. I'll go from the top left corner here. Please let everyone know how they can reach you, any last words you may have, and then we will wrap things up. And I do want to say, I totally forgot to acknowledge, we did have 6 speakers. One of our speakers, self-care for herself. She had a last minute priority with her son that is graduating. So that's why Miss Courtney Fulton was not on the call. So I just wanted to acknowledge her and acknowledge that. All right, we'll start with Cassidy. How can people reach you? Do you have anything coming up? And do you have any final words?
Sure. I just love to stay connected to continue these amazing conversations. You can reach me on Instagram at Cassidy.phenomenal31. And just kind of my last words to everyone is just love yourself enough to love yourself.
Love it.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Kenisha.
Thank you all again for the opportunity to share and just to pour myself. I believe that there is relatability and vulnerability. So that's why I do this, because there may be someone out there who's walking this same walk. And so that's why I do this. So please feel free to connect with me on social media. My platforms of choice is Instagram and TikTok, because those are the places. But I just look forward to staying connected. And again, you have everything that you need already inside of you to win. You just got to tap into it and believe. And just make sure that you are taking care of your mind, body, and spirit as you continue on in your business endeavors.
Thank you. Dr. Ashley.
I can also be reached on Instagram, dr.ashley.cares, or my website. It's the same name. And I just want to leave you guys with making sure you wake up every morning and putting your self-care as a priority and making sure you're checking in with your community. And just have a good one. This has been an amazing talk.
Thank you. All right, Miss Cara.
Okay, that's me. Yeah, so I'm the career cheerleader online. If you want a consultation or just want to chat, right? The first link in my bio goes straight to my calendar. Pick a time. It's amazing, 30 minutes with me or more if we need it. You can go to carapressley.com. If anybody on here, replay or not, there's power in the replay. If you're watching this and you're like, I need to quit my job. I really think I want to quit my job. I got an ebook about that. And it says, before you quit, think about this. If you are watching this, you can use the code READY at checkout, and it is free for you. Download it and make an informed decision before you go out here and quit anything. Okay? Quit that job, quit on them kids. Make an informed decision. Okay? You are okay. And that's all I want to share, man. I appreciate you for letting me come on. Thank y'all. It's been great listening to everyone. I learned a lot. So I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. Now, did you say that you are a retired comedian?
That's what I said.
No, don't do it.
I knew that couldn't be my full time.
Don't do that.
Funny. The funny don't
Okay,
work.
on the side, yeah, because this is completely natural. This is amazing. Like, you need to share this gift.
It's in the work now.
Share
so
this
sign up for one of my classes. Okay, I got a public speaking class and a social media class.
Let me check.
Yes.
Oh, let me make a note.
Yes. And if you're in Richmond, Virginia, I have a business bestie brunch coming up October 26th.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Speakers, if you have anything coming up, any like classes, courses, like Cara just mentioned, the public speaking, please email me that. So you all, I'm going to, per usual, send a follow-up email, and it will have a link for the replay, the chat. This is only for people who are on the call, who have been on this call today. Not, quite a few people registered. No, it's for people who are on this call. You'll get the chat, the replay. Well, everyone will get the replay. And also any tips and courses and all that good stuff. So I just want to thank you all so very much. And just look for that email, that follow-up email. I'll also ask you to conduct a survey because we're always about improving. That is for speakers and attendees. So thank you so much. I'm glad. And I hope that you all got some amazing tips today, and have a great night. Thank you, speakers. Bye-bye.